My name is Jenna Matzer, and I'm conducting this interview on behalf of Unity Hospice. Today we're sitting here with William V. Clark. It's Thursday, October 1st, 2015. This interview is being conducted in South Elgin, Illinois, and the purpose is to record the veteran story of William V. Clark for inclusion in the Library of Congress's Veterans History Project. Can you please state your full name?
William Vincent Clark,
Date of birth?
7/26/1922,
What branch of service?
United States Navy.
And what's your highest rank attained?
Machinist mate, second class,
And during what war conflicts did you serve?
World War II.
Okay. Where and when were you born? You already said your date of birth. If you want to restate that, and then where were you born?
I was born in Morris, Illinois, in my grandmother's front bedroom, because my mother wanted to go to be with her mother when my oldest sister Gertrude was born there, and I was born in Morris, Illinois, and in July 26, 1922.
Okay. Who were your parents and what were their occupations?
Well, my dad, Burl Vincent Clark, was a serviceman for the Western United Gas and Electric Company, and my mother was a mother.
Yeah.
6 children. I had 4 sisters and a brother.
Okay. Can you tell us their names and genders?
My sister Gert was the oldest, then myself, and then my brother Bob, and then Edith, and June, and Bess.
And were any of them military?
Yes, my Art was, but my my youngest sister Bess's husband was, and she's buried with him at the in the veterans where they got all the crosses in. I can't think of the city. It's by Joliet.
Okay. What were you doing before you entered the service?
I was in my apprenticeship tool and die making and all steel equipment.
Okay. And how did you enlist or were you drafted?
I enlisted,
Okay. And how old were you?
20 years old.
Why did you choose to join the Navy over any other military branch?
Well, I guess I almost did it without telling my folks I was going to do it. That wasn't very nice.
So what made you decide on the Navy?
Well, that was the easiest one to get in.
Oh, okay. That's a good reason. What happened when you departed for training camp and during your early days of training?
What happened?
When you departed for training camp or just during your early days of training?
Well, I went to the boot camp, and that was the first thing when I went to the naval recruiting office. That's where they sent me to Great Lakes Naval Training Station. That's where I went to boot camp, and I was one of the few people who got accepted to go to school, and I went from there to Wapton, North Dakota, the machinist school.
Do you recall any of your instructors?
Well, just the commander of my unit there. I've got his picture of me, and every time I get his picture and my picture together, I never know who that is, and the only way I remember is to get his picture. He's standing right in the middle, isn't he? Who's
Which one is he?
this fella?
This one right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's the only one in uniform, like an officer.
And then you in this picture, you're on the top here marked by the green arrow. And what this was in 1942, so you were 20,
20,
and that's when you first enlisted?
yes.
Okay. So what do you remember about him, your commander? Was he tough on you, or
No.
did he inspire you at all?
No, he had very little to do with us when we was at boot camp.
Okay.
I mean, he just got his picture taken with us the whole line.
Okay. So, you went to boot camp. Did you receive any other specialized training?
After boot camp, I went to Wapton, North Dakota to machinist school.
Okay.
And that's where I got the one thing that I get in trouble telling people, but I lied about a liberty I went on, and my grandfather died and they couldn't find me. I was on a liberty, and it was terrible. My grandfather and he invented the chair brace, and we used to go put chair braces on mental institutions that had wooden chairs, and I was always got to, as soon as I got old enough, I drove him every summer, and we went and put chair braces on chairs where they had wooden chairs, and then they went and switched to metal chairs, and he went out of business. But his invention that just kind of put him out of business. That was his major customer. Of course, I think my sister still has a rocking chair that has the chair brace on it, but I really wish I had one that I could have for like a souvenir anymore. But that was really something. We drilled castings in the basement. We had and my sisters and brother, we all made a penny for every two we drilled of the castings. Earned a little spending money.
How'd you adapt to military life, including physical regimen, barracks, food, social life?
Well, as soon as I got out of school in the Wapton, North Dakota, I went to San Pedro, and then I got aboard ship. That time then, when I was there waiting to get my assignment to the ship, and I got assigned to the tanker. I didn't know what I would. I knew I had no choice in it, but that's where I went, and so I spent all my time in the Pacific Ocean on the Sabine auxiliary oiler. We fueled battleships, carriers, and any ship that was out there in the Pacific Ocean, and we refueled them at sea, and so they never had to go back to the Philippines or the States to be filled up. But the merchant marines used to come and unload on us, and they went back.
So how did you adjust? Did you adjust fairly easily when you first went out on your first ship?
Yes, I never even got seasick.
Okay, good. So you mentioned you went to the Philippines, or no?
Well, we went there only once, but that's where the merchant marines would go to fill up. We might have went there once on the way out, but that was it.
Okay, so
we stayed out at sea,
okay,
and the merchant marines would come and unload on us because
okay,
they weren't under naval. They were supplying the Navy ships with black oil, and imagine. I realized after I was on a board ship for a while that I was on a floating bomb. Can you imagine having 500,000 gallons of aviation gasoline, a million gallons of black oil? It's a floating bomb. And there was a tanker every now and then that would get. We always had destroyer escorts, but that didn't always stop them all the time. But every once in a while, a submarine would get another tanker. But we had good. We had good guards for most of the.
So where all did you serve?
In the Pacific.
But were you ever on base anywhere? On any bases, naval bases?
Well, when we went ashore, I got to drive the jeep for the captain and every once in a while the admiral. But this is where every place we were at. That's what I got. Karen said that.
Okay. So quite a few places.
Oh yeah, it's surprising how many islands are out in the Pacific Ocean.
Are there any islands that stick out in your memory most?
New Hebrides.
Okay, and why does it stick out in your
we
memory?
went there with it, and that's where we had a 2-beer Liberty. 2 beers we get. One Liberty. Yeah,
Any others that you want to talk about?
well, we went to the Wangpo River. Arrived at Singapore, Shanghai, 3 Liberties, dead bodies tied to buoys. It was just terrible. Today, it's just like going to New York or Chicago now. All the buildings that they've got in there, and Okinawa, these places, they're so modernized and everything, but they cleaned up the river. But it was terrible that they go on this river. They said dead bodies would be floating down the river, and nobody. There wasn't any part of them that it was. If it was their family, that so long, and it was terrible. So this is that's what I wanted. I didn't know Karen left that for me, but every time I look at that, I can't believe that we was that close to all of these little islands out in the Pacific. Arabia, Ceylon. Arrived at Colombia, 2 Liberties, on the way from Manila. Arrived at Manila, anchored out, Liberty gunfight. 2,000 miles. On the way for Yokosuka. Arrived at Yokosuka 3rd time. Sailed and arrived at Yokohama, Japan, 12 miles away. Sailed and arrived at Yokosuka 4th time. All these things, and then
So during any of those, did you experience any combat?
Oh no, the war was over.
Oh, okay. So you didn't.
Well, where was it? We witnessed. We were 2 miles out at sea at the signing of the Japanese surrender.
Okay. So
I'd have to read this over to see where that come in.
So in all of your experience in the Navy, did you ever experience any combat? Ever?
Oh, we were fueling combat ships. Our duty was to fuel these ships and keep them out so they could keep fighting the enemy. And there was arrived at Shanghai, 2 Liberties basketball game, danced, called Pacific's best port. Arrived at Yokosuka, Japan. See, but these are played in football game, fumigated ship before sailing. On the way for Okinawa. This is really. When I look at this, I had a reunion in Aurora, but I wanted the, my shipmates and their wives and anybody that came to the reunion to know that auxiliary oiler meant, AO-25 meant auxiliary oiler. We were,
That was the name of the ship?
U.S. being AO-25, but nobody ever knew what the AO stood for. I mean, they knew at one time or another, but it wasn't. So I had it spelled out on the cake that I had made for the reunion. Auxiliary oiler. Oh, that's what that AO stands for.
So were you on the same ship during all of that?
Yes,
Okay.
I was on there till I messed up and I got. I was up for first class or chief. It's a good thing I got busted. It busted me to third class machinist, and I made second class back before I got out. But it was just a wrong thing to do aboard ship, so I had to pay for it. I don't know if this is on my record somewhere in here, probably. Or,
What kind of friendships and camaraderie did you form while serving?
well, like that friend that called me. When we went to San Diego for the last two reunions that we've had, it was in. Well, we had one in between, but in the last 10 years, I've known Boyd King. He's a harbor pilot, and we was there a day early, and we went on this tugboat, and he went aboard ship, and the captain moved over, and he'd pilot that ship into the harbor and dock it, and come back out, and we watched them do that for 5 ships, including a submarine. It was the highlight of our reunion, actually, that time when we went to San Diego. But yeah, this.
So you still see quite a few of your shipmates?
Well, not my age. There was only 3 of us at the last reunion.
Okay.
My age that came. There's probably more that don't come because they pretty well housebound.
How did you stay in touch with family and friends back home?
Wrote letters.
Letters.
Yeah, I used to. I played. Dice. I used it. We play. The dice game. But anyhow, I found out that I never won any money throwing dice, and so I stayed with the poker. And when I got out of the Navy in 1948, I bought a brand new 1948 Dodge Club Coupe, and a year later I got married. So it was.
So what did you do for recreation when you were off duty?
We went on Liberty on the islands, and this is some of the islands that we went to, and we call them 2 beer liberties.
Yeah.
That's what we get, 2 beers. And I never smoked, so I trade my smokes for beer or something, and drank too many beers sometimes.
Where were you when the war ended?
We was at sea, and we was 2 miles off the coast at the signing of the surrender of Japan.
How did that? What were you feeling when you found out that the war was over? What type of emotions did you have?
Well, it was a very good feeling. It just feeling of rejoicing. We never got ashore there in Japan where they signed it, but we was just 2 miles out to sea, and we were like witnesses to the signing of their surrender, but it was a good thing to have it over with.
Mm-hmm. How did you return home?
Well, I think it was on a train. I didn't have anybody give me any advice, but I should have kept my Navy insurance. Some of the sailors that kept their insurance, it's paying dividends like crazy right now. It's really something. And that insurance, and I just got out and was glad to get out of the Navy, and went home and went back and finished my apprenticeship, tool and die making, and I retired in 1988. So I've been retired since 1988 now from Furnace Electric in Batavia. And the Lord's taken care of me good.
How were you received by your family and the community when you first returned home from the military?
Oh, very well. Yeah, my sisters I have 4 sisters and a brother. And my brother Bob, actually, he was on a landing craft. He was the coxswain for a landing craft in the Navy, and we actually met at one of our stops. And I usually would have a note on where I saw Bob, my brother, but that was neat. And he got spanked for swimming over to my ship, because he never was supposed to do that. He dived off of his landing craft and come over and come to our ship. And they let him come aboard, but he wasn't supposed to. Get out of the water. You're bad enough that we've had to fight alligators and everything else. So anyhow, that was really neat. Bob's Gert, myself, and then Bob, then Edith, June, and then Bess. I had 4 sisters and a brother. So we had a...
So he's your only brother, and you guys are both Navy.
Yes.
That's very, very cool. Are you a member of any veterans organizations?
The Montgomery VFW, is that what you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. What have you done since separating from the military? You
Finished my
tool and die maker.
Finished my tool and die making, and I'm in the color guard, but not anymore. I'm too far away. They don't come and get me for any funerals or anything anymore. I was the chaplain of the
How did your wartime experience affect your life?
Well, I was just aboard ship below decks all the time. The only time I get, once a week, we'd have general quarters, and I'd get to go up to my 20 millimeter gun for my general quarters practice. And other than that, I was below decks all the time. All I could hear is the chipping paint on the deckhands all the time.
So in your adult life, your later adult life, your military service, did it affect that at all?
No.
No. What are some life lessons you learned from the military service, if any?
Well, that's what I was asked to write to my boss at the places I worked, give him some advice, and I said, well, the worst thing I did was, the one thing you don't want to do is lie and get caught at it, and I got caught. They couldn't find me when my grandfather died, and that fellow has never talked to me since. when I wrote that letter to him and his son. But it's bad news. You try to go through life and lie and say untrue things. And when they couldn't find me, but my grandfather and I was very, very close. We went to many places and installed his invention in chair braces. So my sisters always said I was his favorite grandchild and all that.
How has your military service impacted your feelings about war and the military in general?
Well, when I got out, I went to a Bible class and I accepted Christ as my Savior, and I found out that it's going to be it's not just an unnatural thing. It says there'll be wars and rumors of wars, and there will always be discontent in our world. And so the most important thing that a person can do is understand why we're here, and that the Lord Jesus Christ loved us enough to die for us, and we need to accept Him as sin. And so I went and sang and preached at 5 nursing homes with another. At first by myself, and then, but I loved to sing, and it was really a ministry that I had whenever I had a chance to do it. One place in Naperville, Ecumenical Adult Daycare Center in Naperville, with Hope says, your name's on the calendar for the 3rd Thursday of every month for the rest of your life. So, seniors, I sing and look right in their eyes and sing to them, and also just read the Bible. And I said, the Word of God has got the most interesting stories in it you could ever find in them. And so that was my mission from that time on, after I accepted Christ as Savior, is to go and tell.
So did you want to sing something for us today?
Oh, I never shall forget the day that Jesus took my sin away, and I began to live anew. Oh, I never shall forget the way He came into my heart to stay. At last I found a friendship true. First He brushed away the clouds of fear and gave to me a song. Then He promised always to be near and to keep me from all wrong. Oh, I never shall forget the day that Jesus took my sin away, and He will do the same for you. And then I sang different times. I would be at the Beecher Center in Yorkville. I go there to play pinochle, and they came from Sandwich from the VFW, and they didn't have anybody to play the bugle, and so I sang all these verses from Tab's. Day is done, gone the sun, from the lakes, from the hills, from the sky. All is well, safely rest, God is nigh. And I sang that, but I also sang 2 more verses, and then the commander of the color guard that was there says, I have never heard that. And that was really neat. They came from Plano from the VFW. So, but that's, everybody, whenever they sang My Country 'Tis of Thee or Star Spangled Banner, a lot of people would join in and sing, but most people don't know my songs. They love them though.
Beautiful voice. This looks like it's a Navy song.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember that one?
Bell-bottom trousers, bell-bottom trousers, coats of navy blue, little girls in pigtails making eyes at you. I love a sailor and he loves me too. Soon we'll be married and I don't know the rest.
Very nice. So, what message would you like to leave for future generations who will hear or view this interview?
Well, the one thing about my life's memory verse is Proverbs 17:22. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit drieth the bones. Proverbs 17:22. And so there's something about singing. It helps you. That's good for your nerves. Singing is. I read all the time about the Lord gave me a song, and I love to sing, and that worked out good. When I was in West Aurora High School, I graduated in 1940, and that's not even 2 years later. I joined the Navy, but I was singing in the boys' glee club, and they were short of tenors in the a cappella choir, so I got to sing in the a cappella choir my freshman and sophomore and junior and senior year. But you don't usually get to sing in the a cappella choir until you're a junior or senior. But I got to, because I had a tender voice, but then I took voice lessons from the professor of music at Aurora College, and she says, Mr. Clark, she says, you just leave the preaching to the preachers and you do the singing. And she bawled me out.
I don't want to forget to talk about all of the medals that you earned while serving. Here's a list of all of them. Do you want to talk about how you earned any of these medals? There's quite a few on there.
This is where our ship went. American Area Campaign Medal, World War II Victory Medal, Philippine Independence Medal, Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal, Good Conduct Medal.
Do you remember at all how you earned any of those?
Just being aboard ship.
Okay.
I guess if you just do what you're supposed to do, that's how you earn them. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, yes. Is there anything else that you wanted to go over today that we haven't gone over? So you wanted to share some of these?
Oh, well, if you want to.
I can take those papers from you.
Oh, okay. This is when we crossed the medium and the equator. It's this, the Order of the Golden Dragon shellback. I became a shellback, but they have a shellback initiation, and I'm telling you, they shave your hair and and they wash it with mud, and they do everything else that they can to make life miserable for that couple of seconds or minutes as you're over the equator. Having crossed the 180th meridian and equator, gratitude 0000, longitude 180, and being one of the very few salts to enter this unusual domain, herewith and forever enlisted as a member of our Order of the Grand Order of the Golden Dragon Shellback. And they got a card and everything that goes with it, signed by the commanding officer. And my commanding officer was, one of them was a taxidermist, and we used to have flying fish come in the tanker. The tanker used to roll like that, and the flying fish would get up there and then you get caught on the deck, and the captain would catch these flying fish and mound them. And when I think about that today, I wish I had one of those mounted fish. They were beautiful. They'd fly, and they'd be in the water, and they'd come out, but they got caught on the deck of a ship when we was rolling with the waves of the Pacific Ocean. And this is when I became a shellback. Imperial Register. To all sailors, wherever we may be, and to all mermaids, whales, sea serpents, porpoises, sharks, dolphins, eels, skates, rookeries, crabs, lobsters, and all other living things of the sea, greeting know ye that on that 21st day of February, 1943, that's when I crossed. I became a Imperial Neptune Regist. Let's see, 21st day of February 1943 in latitude 0000 and longitude censored. Oh, don't even talk about that.
Want me to hold that up?
No.
No.
There appeared within our royal domain the USS Sabine, bound south for the equator, action against the enemy. Be it remembered that the said vessel and officers and crew thereof have been inspected and passed on by ourselves and our royal staff, and be it known by all ye sailors, marines, landlubbers, and others who may be honored by his presence, that William V. Clark, fireman, 2nd class, USN, United States Navy, having been found worthy to be numbered as one of our trusty shellbacks, he has been duly initiated into the solemn mysteries of the ancient order of the deep. And it just goes on. But that's when I became a shellback. We crossed the equator in 000, and then we went on to be in the Pacific the rest of the time.
Wow. Great. So is there anything else that you want to add to this interview that we haven't already gone over?
Well, I guess I'm a proud Navy veteran.
Okay, well, on behalf of Unity Hospice, thank you so much for coming in, sharing your story, and especially thank you so much for your service to our country.
Thank you.